never a
There's
good
never
time.
not traffic. Yeah.
It's
Fucking
brutal.
traffic, man.
Fucking traffic. Fucking
Well,
city planning. Fucking
Yes. And perhaps welcome back to another episode of the Yes and Perhaps podcast. We are your host, John and Justin.
We are
Deadly
back, baby.
duo, deadly combo for episode number 25.
25, 25.
I think, right? 25? Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
That pretty much marks like what?
Half
a
point of the
year?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I guess we're 1 week away from completely a half year, 26.
Dude, how are we in July right now? That makes no sense to me.
I don't know.
24 Kobe years flying by, ladies and gentlemen.
Trust.
But there are still lots to be done. We still have half the year left. We have lots in store for this pod, especially this 25th episode. We appreciate every single one of you beautiful people for checking in.
Beautiful dogs.
Beautiful dogs. A lot has happened this week.
Yeah, kick us off, my
Where
boy.
do we even start? I guess we could start with the most recent news. I got an update today that my gym, Primal Gym, over in Leslieville, Toronto, has passed away, unfortunately.
R.I.P.
They are, just closed its doors.
Sad days, man. Sad days. So,
it
give us a little bit of a rundown of like exactly what happened. It sounds like there was some sort of disagreement or this. I mean, for the viewers that might not be trained, like that are not in martial arts or anything like that. Which, by the way, why aren't you?
Why aren't
Sign
you?
up? What the
It's a great
fuck,
question,
man. But it's not uncommon for there to be gym drama, and it's kind of like if anybody's watched like Godfather. It's like when someone was explaining to Michael Corleone, to Al Pacino's character, like, these things happen every like 10 years. People's got to let the bad blood out, and then things kind of start settling down afterwards. We kind of went through that last year at my gym, or our gym, I guess, and things are finally kind of settling down now. But it sounds like in your neck of the woods in Leslieville, Primal, man, that's kind of like a gym that's been around for what, 13 years, 14 years, something like that.
I think 13. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it sucks. The owner sent a very heartfelt message. He kind of took some jabs at a few specific people that were the cause of some of that separation, some of that drama. But he didn't drop any specific names. He just kind of,
Subs.
Yeah.
Straight subs.
But yeah, it is something that happens, I think, in general, just in life. There's something about reaching that 5 to 10 year mark when you're in something where something just has to change, like naturally, like the law of order of whatever it is, whether it's business, whether it's
a band,
your job,
musical act, job.
Like people usually make moves around
relationships,
that mark, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely was something that I think, in hindsight, was eventually always going to happen.
You think so?
Because of, as the old adage goes, nothing good lasts forever. And honestly, looking back in my time at that gym, it was a great gym, great location. It was one of the very few gyms that had the combination of a parking lot as well as a shower. It's hard to come by,
especially in the city. That's hard to come by,
especially downtown,
for sure.
Yeah. So sick setup. Nothing but good times over there. Especially the people. The people were great too. A lot of the people are going to, what's the word? I'm thinking reincarnate. It's not reincarnate. It's block, I guess, over to the new gym.
Just
down the
over to
street.
the new gym. Yeah.
What's the actual
rise from the ashes?
Rise from the ashes. That's the word.
As like a phoenix.
I
don't know what you're looking for. Like, what is it like?
Grandfather, or I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know you mean. Yeah.
They're gonna.
So it sounds like the head coach for jiu-jitsu.
That's how it went.
/MMA is now opening up his own gym, like on his own.
Yeah, you basically had a partnership of, I think, 3 folks. And earlier this year, actually, one of the partners ended up opening up another gym. So there was 2 jiu-jitsu coaches. I think one of them is a jiu-jitsu or like an MMA coach or whatever. And he sectioned off. He went to go open up a gym literally down the street and was like kind of doing the shady, like soliciting people that were currently at Primal, bringing them over to his gym.
Kind of an understandable move, but it's kind of a move with no integrity and honor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You could definitely argue that for sure.
Like, let people make the choices on their own. They know that you're there, but like for you to actively kind of like try to what's the word I'm looking for? Poach other members. That's kind of fucked up.
Dude, when I came back in December to this gym, since I moved to my new place over there, literally the second week, one of the guys that I used to train with back when I was at Primal, like before COVID, he's like a brown belt now.
Yeah.
And then at the time he was just like, yo, you should come to this gym. And I was like, bro, I literally just started here again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like,
but he was training at both spots for a bit, no?
he was there for an open mat or something, and then he was just like poaching me.
Yeah, that's fucked. You know? That's actually kind of
so there was a lot of that.
That doesn't necessarily sit well, because that's on some like traitorous shit, bro. It's just like you're fucking up someone's business.
It's distasteful for sure.
It's very super distasteful for sure.
And I mean, it kind of comes with
kind of shady, bro. Like,
it is, and there's not, I don't know, maybe there was some kind of term in their agreement together in their partnership. Hopefully there was, because I mean, now it doesn't really matter since the guy had to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So in the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter what happened, but like, yeah, I don't know if like any kind of stipulation, any kind of agreement you have with your partners when it comes to gyms like that would prevent anyone from doing that. I think that's just a fact of life.
I mean, it's a fact of life. It's more just like based on your like your own internal code of ethics and
pretty much
and integrity, right?
Pretty much. That's the world of business.
It is the world of business
dog.
for sure. And
nothing's pretty.
I mean, I don't. I mean, obviously, I am faulting them if I am saying the things I'm saying. All I'm saying is I would not do that myself. Like, you wouldn't find me, like, so, for example, there's a bunch of other gyms around here, and one of them is a jiu-jitsu gym, but also MMA. And if I were to go train MMA there, like, that would be super messed up for me to actually like try to get new members by going to another gym, even though I'm paying a membership over there. Right? Like, I would never do that.
I think it's a little different. The only factor that's a little different was that the people in the new gym that opened down the street earlier this year are from.
No, but even still. But
so even then,
it's just like not naming any names. It's just like the way that someone was like with our friends in Mississauga, there was another coach that, you know, doors were open to them because of what happened to their previous engagement, and turns out that they were kind of actively trying to bring other people from that gym to them. So for you to, obviously the context is a little bit different, but for you to go to another gym, a gym that you already had disagreements with from the owners of that gym, but because of what happened to you, the owners of that gym showed a little bit of empathy, open up the doors for you. And then in the background, you're putting in, like, you know, the work to open up your own gym, but also actively telling people to reach your gym when it's open. That's fucked.
That is a little fucked.
No, they're like, yeah, like, there's no backbone. There's no backbone with that kind of move. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how could you fucking...
I think suffice to say, like, these things can get messy for sure, but one thing that I always was talking to the other owners about was, I'm like, this is going to get messy one way or another, but I want to be able to walk away from this kind of, I guess, let's call it crisis, with my integrity and like my integrity in check, right? I don't want to think back to it and be like, yo, I could have handled that a different way. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20, and I think I personally was able to successfully do that. I mean, generally speaking, man, I don't carry any hate in my heart. I try not to anyway, right? Like, some people probably, like, you know, might kind of approach things a little bit differently, and more power to them, because sometimes at the end of the day, that is fuel for some people. You know what I mean? But in my opinion, there's more than enough for people to eat without having to trample on other people's dishes. You know what I mean?
Which, yeah, that's actually a question that I had. That I was just thinking about, was like, is that the case right now in the jiu-jitsu scene, specifically in Toronto? Do you think, or in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area? Do you think there's enough food to go around where
I
you
think
don't
it's
have to?
definitely in that kind of market in Toronto. I definitely think it's getting. It was already saturated like pre-COVID, in my opinion,
Mm.
and it's only gone. It's only going to get. It's only gotten even more saturated. Like gone are the days where there's only a few black belts in the area that you kind of have huge gyms. But I think just jujitsu back in the day was really niche. So usually it was like MMA fans were the ones that really got into jujitsu, right? And even back then, like go back 10 years, MMA was super niche too. Like, yeah, it was kind of hitting the mainstream, but there's definitely a lot more fans now for MMA than there ever were, right? And so even though there are a lot of gyms, I still think that they're, especially in these areas outside of the city, I think that definitely in the city it's saturated, but I think outside of the city, because the awareness of jujitsu and MMA in general has grown, there's just a bigger pool of people to pull from. I think. Anyway, that's what I suspect. I don't have any like
Do you think that pool is
numbers.
growing?
I think so. I mean,
There's still a lot of people that don't know what it is.
100%.
Think.
And I think it's still off the back of MMA. I mean,
UFC for sure.
UFC for sure is like, as UFC grows, I feel like jiu-jitsu is just naturally going to grow alongside with it.
Yeah.
So if UFC doesn't stop growing, I think there's still obviously upward. I'm still pretty bullish on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I wouldn't have gone and opened up a jiu-jitsu gym had I not thought it was bullish, or had I not thought it didn't have any like upward trending, in terms of popularity and in terms of like potential growth. But I think just martial art gyms, man, in general is a tough game, bro. It's a super tough game. So even for my gym right now, like we're not hitting the numbers that I want to be hitting at this point, like 6-7 months in. I mean, we're doing pretty good. It's just we're still kind of semi in the red. Still need to hit black. I mean, and relatively speaking, most businesses in the first year don't make any money.
Yeah.
Right. So I try to keep that, like, I try to remind myself of that. But at the same time, I think, I could definitely be doing more in a sense of, admittedly, I haven't been spending as much time as maybe it warrants to be spent time. I mean, because I still have a full-time job. You know what I mean? I still have other things that I got to look after. But I think I'm excited that you're going to be a little bit more involved in terms of our marketing, because that's definitely some like an area that we need the help, and I know you have a background in it. So I don't know. I mean, like maybe we could take this time to kind of break down what do we think our core competencies or core skills, core like not values, but core characteristics that would be X factors in terms of making a gym successful. So for me, if I could start off at the top and we could just bounce off each other, definitely needs to have a good level of instruction. So you can't just go in here and make it a McDojo where it's just like an over glorified babysitting like place, especially for kids. For adults, it's going to be super obvious to them that whether or not like maybe not right away, but definitely somewhere along the line, they're going to realize, oh, like this, the technique here is not so good. So I think that's a big differentiator, obviously, is the level of technique and instruction. So that's one. What do you think? What else do you think?
Yeah, I think I would add to that and I can only speak from the experiences that I've had at variety of gyms, MMA gyms, just normal weightlifting gyms and that kind of thing. I think the gyms that got me sticking around the most, when I look back, or the gyms that I would frequent over a longer stretch of time, were the gyms at so we could talk about just this one right now, but for now, but it's the community factor,
For sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have people that you vibe with,
1000%.
that keep you coming back.
Community and culture, I think, can be clumped into
Yeah.
one, right?
So that's one of them, and the other part is the actual value that I'm getting out of it. So the value that I got out of Primal and my membership there was, there were showers, there was parking, there was multiple classes that I could take with my membership. Well, let's start off with number one. Let's dig into that a little bit. Community and culture goes without saying. What's going to keep you coming back, especially when I think about jiu-jitsu gyms, is the people, right?
Yeah.
You want to be training in a place that has what you mentioned and good instruction, good instructors, and you're able to practice and develop your techniques in a safe and fun environment, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like jujitsu, it's good self-defense, blah blah blah. It's good to have that in mind, but
If it's not fun, like exactly,
exactly,
like especially okay, if it's one thing if you're trying to be a professional, you could argue that it doesn't necessarily need to be fun per se, but for the regular like hobbyist that's just in it to get a good workout and learn some self defense and some submissions along the way, that's definitely an area that I think probably takes top like is a close one if not two to like basically they're neck and neck between good instruction and technique, good coaches. So that's actually folded underneath that kind of umbrella is also good coaching.
Yeah.
Good. So it's not enough to be a good instructor. You got to be a good coach. They're two separate things. So if we were to take a step back for a moment, just focus on that first point again, and I say that from experience because I had the pleasure of having a broad variety of different coaches and different instructors, and not all of them are obviously built equal, right? Some of the best instructors that I know are shit coaches, and vice versa. Some of the best coaches that I know are not always the best instructors. What I would like to think about is I want to have a good balance of kind of both values, because unfortunately I've had the displeasure of like for one instructor in particular that I started with from the very beginning, like I never got the vibe that he wanted me to be better than him. That's number one, right? So so that's one piece. Another piece is like eventually I actually stopped trusting him as my coach. He was always a good instructor, but as a coach, left a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? Like whenever I would go to tournaments and shit, I could count. I can count in one hand how many times he showed up for any of my tournaments. None. Right? He's never showed up to any tournaments. Okay. We had to coach ourselves for prep for tournaments.
Yeah.
Clem was basically like Clem and I were basically just coaching each other for leading up to tournaments. There were a couple like inconsistent, like I guess coaches, like coach like Rodrigo, for example, and a few others. But generally speaking, we kind of coached ourselves. And man, like what really kind of tipped the scales to being like, yo, like I don't trust this person to be my coach was I was practicing, and mind you, for context, I was already like a purple belt, I think like 2 or 3 star purple belts or something like that, right? I was practicing this technique, and then I asked the question to the instructor. I was like, hey, like I'm having difficulties here, like what am I doing wrong, right? And then without like, had he just told me the answer, no problem. But there's this sort of arrogance that this particular person has where he likes to make a point of this, like he has this like superiority complex sometimes, where he was just like, oh, you've been doing it wrong for 2 years. You've been making the same mistake. I'm like, what? So you're meaning to tell me that you've been watching me do this wrong for fucking 2 years? I pay you money to coach me in jiu-jitsu, and you're telling me that you've been watching me do it wrong for 2 years without saying, like, what happened? What would have happened if I didn't ask? Right? You would have just fucking like kept watching me do it wrong.
Yeah.
Like, because I know I can speak for myself, even with my students now. The moment that I can see this a small mistake, I'm telling them, maybe not at that moment, but I'll tell them afterwards, like, hey, okay, work on this. Like you're doing XYZ good, work on this, right? And I actually directly asked them, I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me? Like, I literally pay you money to fucking tell me these things. What the fuck are you, like, what's going on here, right? And you had the audacity to fucking tell me, bro.
What do you say?
You know what he said? He was just like, some lessons are meant to be learned by yourself. Meaning, like, so in my opinion, as a coach, you're supposed to clear the way. You're supposed to clear the way for your student's journey to being the best version of a jiu-jitsu player that they can be. But he actively, like, he saw a barrier, and he just actively just let it stay there.
Wow. Yeah.
That's fucked.
What was that position?
It was X guard.
X card.
Yeah, and that's arbitrary. That
Yeah,
who gives a fuck what the position is?
Yeah, the principle
it's just the principle of like,
for sure.
yo, like for 2 years, you're meaning to tell me you're consciously letting me make mistakes, and instead of making it easy, like an easier path for me, you actively prevented me from getting better, right? And his response was like, and see, this is where like, you know, don't let people fool you, folks. Some people will tell you that martial arts is, you know, ego defeating and whatnot, but some martial artists have the biggest fucking egos that you'll ever fucking know, right? Especially when that's the only thing in their lives, and they have some sort of this like power over you in the space that you're in, and you know, and that's another thing. Just because you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu doesn't mean you're a black belt in life. So fucking know your role. You know what I mean? Like, you're just a fucking jiu-jitsu coach and instructor. You're not a black belt at life. Relax, sit down, slow your roll, right? So at that moment, that's when I'm just like, yo, I don't like, yo, fuck this guy. Like, my whole vibe about him like fucking changed. I'm like, you know what? I don't trust him, because, yo, like, as a coach, when I coach my students, and you know what? Thank you for that experience, because that person indirectly taught me on
not what to
do.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, there's no running away from it. A lot of like what I do is actually from him, because like I said, he's a great instructor. He's a fucking jiu-jitsu nerd. But in a lot of other aspects of it, like his personality, left to be desired. You know what I mean? So all this to say, going back to that first point, is that you have to be a good instructor and coach. It's not enough to just be one. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, the fact that a lot of his original students left him is a good reflection as to what people actually prioritize is the personalities, the community, the people that they actually want to spend time training with, but also like being able to have trust and faith in the people that are actually teaching you. So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap those first 2 points. So we have great technique, like I think that goes without saying, is great technique and instruction, but like more so a focus on on good instructors and good coaches and community. Because so for community, what really stands out for me for community is a lot of my really good friendships that I've made in my adult life is from jiu-jitsu. And I think for the community aspect of it is really important, because you know, it's something that a lot of times, I mean, I can speak from my own experience, where it's just a hang. You know what I mean? We're just hanging out, and we're just learning cool techniques, and we're helping each other get better together. You know what I mean? I literally just came back from Medellin with guys that I met in jiu-jitsu, and I'm basically like, we celebrated our teammates' wedding together in Medellin.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty fucking dope. Super dope. Just from reaching class and, you know, training with the same people for years over years and making those cool bonds and friendships. And now we're like, literally, it's beyond jiu-jitsu now. Like, we literally see each other as like, that's fam. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are my guys, you know? That's like my tribe, as homo, as fucking gay as that sounds. You know what I mean? but
yeah.
So, okay. So that's 2, right? Yeah. So what else? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the perceived value that you get from your membership at a gym was a second point that I had.
Perceived value. Yeah.
So my an example of that would be like, what are you actually getting out of your membership? And this kind of now that I think about it, loops in the first 2 as well as other factors, but I would consider the first 2 some pretty critical factors when it comes to perceived value. So the first 2 being like great instruction, coaches, and community, because at the end of the day, the way gyms work are very simple. You just pay a monthly fee, you're on a contract, and you get to, you know, use the amenities, go to the classes, whatever. People can understand that. It's pretty straightforward. But what keeps people coming back and what makes other gyms stand out compared to the rest are the gyms that are able to, I think, achieve some kind of balance where you're offering much more than what you're actually paying. So that can come in the form of a combination of things, 2 of which we just mentioned were coaches and community. So if those are good, then, you know, that might warrant how much you pay right off the bat. But then if you add on other things like a great just a clean space, right? A good looking space, a space that's not dirty, the space that's safe, that's in a place that's convenient, right?
Mhm.
Like those things are all factors that attribute to value, like value
Perceived
from
value. Yeah.
what you get out of your payment,
Right.
right? And so I think that taking the example of REVO right now, there's a lot to add on top of that. I think there's a lot that we can do, especially now that we're both kind of like going to be more active in our roles here, in making that perceived value kind of go up more.
Yeah. So what do you think? So actually, to that end, excuse me. To that end, I feel like the first 2 points that we talked about, I think we have that in spades.
Yeah.
I think we have great instruction and great coaching. And I think we have a great community. If you ask our members that are with us right now, they all will tell you that the community here is amazing, right? It's basically just an extension of the Evo culture, where it's just like we like to fucking talk shit, we like to hang out, we like to rag on each other, but when it comes time to it, we also like to fucking throw down and with technique and focus on like being the best versions of jiu-jitsu players that we can be, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have those 2 main things covered.
So other things we could do.
Yeah. So what other things can we do within the actual gym?
Would be, because right now I look at REVO as just being a one-dimensional gym right now. We only offer jiu-jitsu classes.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity for you and I, as well as the other guys, to look into adding more classes on the schedule. And obviously not tomorrow, but like think about that as a way for us to kind of tack on another option for people to come in and get some kind of different fitness related training. And so examples would be like a HIIT class, for example, right? Or even like a strength and conditioning class,
box fit class.
Yeah. Yoga, even.
Yeah, yoga.
So things like that are ways that gym owners, I think, could just add on. I mean, it's time spent. It's an investment. You have to follow a schedule. But those things you could add on top of your membership. Whether you want to increase the price on that is up to the owner. But let's say, for example, you didn't, and like I were to be like the yoga instructor starting like next month. That's another class that people can look at and be like, hey, like, there's yoga classes here from the outside, but then people that are already paying their membership now will be like, okay, don't worry about it.
Added value.
Added value.
Yeah.
You can come to these if you want.
Yeah.
And it's an option for you, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're already like the people that are already here or that are already signed up to a yoga class outside the gym could look at REVO now and be like, oh, like I could do both.
They got yoga and jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
right.
True.
So that kind of like, kills 2 birds with 1 stone, if you will. So I think that's one way you could marginally, just right away, like offering new classes would be one way you could add way more perceived value on top of your membership. Another thing too would be just amenities. So like we talked about one day breaking the wall over here and adding a whole weightlifting section to the gym, right?
No, not weightlifting. Not here.
Weightlifting?
No. It would be for more mass space.
Oh, just more mass space.
More mass space. Yeah.
So regardless,
so more mass space,
Yeah.
but if when we do that, it's going to be more mass space more than anything else, but also showers.
yes,
That's going to be an easy like sell.
And from my experience, the gyms that have showers are usually fucking oof.
It's a big amenity for sure. Yeah, like weightlifting, I'm not so concerned about. Like, if anything, maybe at a future project, like we talked about. But right now, like, if anything, it's the mat space.
It's just more mat space
because, like, let's say, like, in order for us to even warrant that, we need to be at like, let's say, anywhere from the 70 to 100 member range. That's where we're going to be bursting from the seams, and that's where we're going to need more mat space. What I wouldn't want to do is, clear all this and then put like a small weight room at the cost of more mat space. You know what I mean? So, mat space is definitely it. If we had a larger space, then obviously that would be cool to consider having like a small weightlifting area. But when we do knock down the walls, it'll be to create more mat space and add in showers.
So if that's like the more realistic answer, then that's already a huge added value.
It's going to be added value for sure. I think the classes are a good idea. I guess my main thing about the added classes is, let's say if I add a yoga class, I would be the only one that's going to be able to do the yoga class.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you would
so there wouldn't be any
yeah.
redundancy there. There wouldn't be any like God forbid, like, okay, now I travel for a couple of weeks. That means there's going to be no yoga classes for 2 weeks. So I've thought about that before, right? I mean, there are ways around that by bringing on someone that wants to maybe do yoga classes, and then like, you know, we pay them like for by the class type of deal. And maybe that's an avenue that we can go. Maybe as a result of building that program, there could be like guest yoga instructors that can come through from time to time. That's not a bad idea though.
Yeah.
And same thing with the HIIT classes, right? The HIIT classes, like if you were to take on the HIIT classes, for
you
example,
don't need those certifications for that.
not necessarily. Yeah, well, I mean, but what I'm saying is like, okay, God forbid you go, something happens to you, and then now it's just like, okay, what does that mean? Then I'm probably gonna have to be the one that takes over the HIIT classes, right? So that's the main hesitation that I have from the from the HIIT classes, from the added classes, just the scalability of it. Yeah, the logistics and the scalability. But I definitely do think there's opportunity there. It's just, I think
it's got to make sense.
It's got to make sense. Yeah, exactly. And maybe and maybe, I don't know. I am down to kind of dig into that a little bit more though, because there's definitely opportunity there. It's just got to make sense, to your point.
Because at the end of the day, like, why do you go to such an expensive gym? Like, you go to Lifetime, which is probably the most expensive gym membership, or comparably in the GTA,
relatively speaking. Yeah, for sure.
But you get access in your membership.
But man, like, it's worth it.
You get your money's worth.
You get and then some. To be honest with you, because you have 100%. Yoga, you have all these classes. You have the sauna, like the pools, the lifting areas, like it's actually legit, like a really good gym.
Yeah.
And people kind of like, I can understand the hesitation for because of the cost of it, but if you don't really go out, like I don't really go out, like go drinking like that. You know what I mean? I don't go out clubbing or anything like that. More people spend more money on drinking, clubbing on a weekly basis, on one day actually. Right? So let's say on one night out, you're spending $2 bills. That's your month at Lifetime. And the amount of time that I spend at Lifetime on a weekly basis, like it's you're actually coming out on top, to be honest with you. If you're going pretty regularly,
you're getting fucking jacked too. You're living longer, extending your life.
That's another thing actually. I just recently watched
it.
Rather, like, apparently I was looking into some of like the health benefits of like using the sauna. Well, I mean, this was like months ago for the sauna anyway, but some article came up recently. It's actually like, it's unreal. So the one that really stood out for this is like that it's actually, it reduces the risk for there's this guy on Joe Rogan's podcast recently. I forget his name, Max something or whatever, but they were talking about like Alzheimer's and like dementia and shit like that. And apparently like spending anywhere from like 2 to 4 times a week in the sauna reduces your chances or the risk of Alzheimer's and like dementia in general by like something like 20-30%. I don't know. I'm probably pulling that figure out of my ass, but that's something that's fucking freaks me out, bro. Can you imagine at one point in your life you're gonna be like, I could be looking at you straight in the eye and you don't know who the fuck I am.
Yeah, that's scary, man.
That's crazy. That scares the shit out of me from mom and dad, bro. That's why like I get on their case about like going to work out and shit like that.
Dude, it's the most important thing you could do, man. I don't know who told me this analogy, but it just makes perfect sense. I think it was you. It might have been you. That you gotta just your body is like a temple. Your body is like or actually, I think your body's like a car.
Yeah.
You know, that's a better analogy. I think you're the one that told me this, where you kind of want to treat your body by giving it its regular oil changes. You know, you need to go for your.
You got to maintain it.
You got to maintain it.
If you don't maintain it, and it's like it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be like not as efficient as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I think okay.
It's so important.
Yeah. Going back to the gym discussion. Okay. So we talked about perceived value.
Coaches instructing.
Coaches instruction, amenities, and community. And after that, I think it's like location.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like on paper, we have all of these things, except for like the added perceived value. Like that's definitely an area that I think we can improve upon. Yeah. I think we could definitely improve upon our instruction as well. There's always room for growth on that.
100%.
So I know for me personally, I can speak for myself, which is like I've spent more time watching and learning from instructionals more than I ever have before.
Nice.
I literally block time every week to just focus on a particular thing, right? So I've just been digging into like the Gordon Ryan's guillotine instructional recently, and man, I can't wait for the next time that we show guillotines, because man, even when I was in white belt, I could tell right away
Who was a good instructor?
who would just go to class and literally they probably just watched a YouTube video right before class and it's like, okay, that's what you're teaching. I'm not saying necessarily anybody at Evo, but because back then when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was traveling a lot for work, right? And so, like I said, like the instructor that we had at Evo, like very good instructor, like a geek, a fucking nerd when it came to like instruction, like technique and just jiu-jitsu as an art, right? And then to contrast that, whenever I would go travel to another, so whenever I would travel to another city, I would always look for like local gyms to go train at, right? And it was so, even at white belt, bro, it was so obvious to tell who was actually like knows their craft versus someone that just kind of like is showing something that they just looked up on YouTube maybe a couple of hours prior to class. And it's pretty evident that that's not something that they do like in their own like, roles and sparring sessions, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that the best instructors, and I've only had a handful. I haven't had like a whole laundry list of instructors that I've experienced this with, but I could definitely tell that too. And I think that the best ones were the ones that like practiced or preached what they practiced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so.
Or practice what they preached.
Practice what they preach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you can do it the other way too. So preach as in teach what they actually practice.
Yeah, true,
yeah.
True,
So yeah, I mean, like the, instructor Z, who we're talking about right now, was great at that because a lot of the stuff that he would teach
are things that he would actually do.
That they would actually do, right? Like I can remember countless times where like he would do a certain move on me, and then like the next week we would learn that move, and I'd be like, oh fuck, like.
And I actually take that from I took that methodology in a sense of, okay, I know that because we do themes of the week, like right. So if I know that the next week's theme of the week is going to be XYZ, I'm practicing that in the current week.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, like, the past couple of weeks we were practicing stand up. So thankfully, it's still early on where I can still show the stuff that I already knew from like the my bread and butter when it comes to stand up for both judo and for both gi and no gi. But I know the next time around that I do stand up again, I'm probably going to have to spend a couple of weeks prior to that practicing something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that could be tough, man. That could be tough, especially as someone that, and the average coach too doesn't have the luxury of time to do that full time.
That's why you got to do it during training. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's an efficient way of doing it is during training.
Right.
So I think, I think the thing is most of the things that are within our control are things that we already are either doing well today or well on our way to doing well. Yeah. So I think really the other thing that makes, so going back to the original question is what makes a successful gym? The other thing as well is like the marketing and business development, obviously. Because it's not just like, gone are the days of like, if you build it, they will come. Back in the day, if you open up a jiu-jitsu gym and you had a relatively high rank, a lot of people would just literally show up, right? Because there were just far and few between. Like there were just not that many gyms to begin with, right? But now, because of just like the amount of jiu-jitsu gyms, like even in this area, there's a bunch. Not to the same level of saturation as it is in Mississauga or in Toronto, but there's a fair share of jiu-jitsu gyms around here. But in terms of location, in my opinion, we have one of the better locations because we're literally right near the highway. We're near the lake. There's a lot of residential areas around here, so we're not even in most gyms are in like industrial areas, right, to keep the rent low. We're in a strip mall, so location-wise, it's great. We have great instruction. We have great community. We have the main thing I think right now that we're really lacking in is the marketing and business development. That's why I'm really hoping that you can come in with your knowledge, with your experience, to come help us out with that. Yeah. Right?
The thing about jiu-jitsu gyms too, man, is that there's a lot today, but I could even look at my most recent gym with Primal and use that as kind of like the benchmark. But there's not a lot of gyms out there that I would say are actively doing like outbound marketing,
No,
outbound sales.
no.
And I think that it's a testament to how young the industry is still,
Yes.
even today in 2024,
Right.
where you don't really see that industry maturity yet
Mm-hmm.
from these owners.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That are lacking. Like think about just like on social media, you don't really see like a lot of just scrolling through social media. There's not a lot of ads out there from jiu-jitsu gyms that are marketing from that channel. And just in general too, like when I think of like the marketing plan that my last gym had, the one that just closed down, unfortunately, their marketing was essentially just Instagram and word of mouth.
Yeah.
And their Instagram posts didn't really even follow regular cadence.
Right.
I think if you want to succeed, you gotta like make sure you're posting something at least like every other day, every single day.
You would think that, but I tested that already.
Yeah.
And it actually doesn't pan out the way that you would think.
Right.
Because I don't remember. I don't know if you remember during like April, May, I was posting literally every day, generally around the same time. And yes,
on the main page or
on the main page,
yeah.
on the main page. Yes, it grew the actual follow count, so that's why we're at the follower count that we're at right now is actually off the back of that main campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of actually bringing people into the door, no.
But did you have anything else to funnel those leads through? Like, were you missing did you have the channels or the systems to?
Well, I had ads up going on at the same time.
But you didn't like the followers.
My follow-up game was fucking ass.
Yes. So
that's
an opportunity.
My marketing campaign,
right?
my email campaign was ass.
Yeah.
Like I was really like, yeah. So it definitely there's room for growth and improvement there. And I think that's something that all of us as partners can all improve on as well. But there's only so much time. Like, there's only so much time, right? That's the thing. So that's why, like I said, like that's where I know for you, that's something that you did in previous lifetime when you were like in more mergers and acquisitions was like the outbound stuff, right? So I think like I have a huge lead list that we could just start hitting up, with like whether it be weekly emails or just like calling them because I have their numbers as well. So that's definitely something that I want to hash out. But I think we need, if anything, I think we need to kind of break it up into different campaigns so that we can actually have an objective for each campaign and a way to track each campaign. Because then, like, I'm more than open to saying, okay, let's do 3 separate campaigns, each of them different objectives, different metrics, or different KPIs that we're going to be tracking. Now, of the 3, which ones actually had the best impact versus investment, right? And then whichever ones that actually come like bubble up to the top, those are the ones that that style of campaign is something that we could double down on onto the next phase. So if anything, the way I look at it, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, is like, let's do this in phases. Phase 1, it's just like an experimental phase where we're testing out we might have our hypotheses about what could work, and then we could kind of determine what is an indicator of success for each of these hypotheses, right? And then based off so it has to be time bound, where okay, by this X date, we're gonna stop the campaign. We have to do a kind of like a post-mortem. Okay, let's take a look at the results. What actually came through and performed the best, right? What did we do well? What didn't work out so well? And then phase 2 is like, okay, let's double down on like another like an updated version of the campaigns that did work well, and that's phase 2. That's about as far as I got to, but I think, I mean, what do you think about the approach?
I like the approach. I think it makes sense. It sounds like, doing a couple weeks sprints across like 2 or 3 different channels, and then at the end of it, seeing which one yielded the most results for our effort put in. So I think, that's like a standard way to go about it for sure. Because I mean, ultimately we never know, right? Like we can't know what's going to perform well, whether
until you actually just like try it out. Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of like the grind when it comes to marketing. Why I think a lot of people, especially right now, talking about specifically gyms and jiu-jitsu gyms, kind of lacking in this area is because there's not a lot of people that are doing that kind of work. And maybe we'll find out, it's possible, that's for good reason. Maybe it just doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
But we won't know until
we won't know.
It out.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I know it works. Like, especially like, so.
I mean, it's business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like for me, one of the campaigns is definitely going to be advertising campaign, like online, like IG and Facebook.
Because bro, IG, before you continue that, the way I see your Instagram page, it's basically its own lead generation channel.
It is.
It's 100%.
It is.
It's not just a page.
No, it's not just a page.
All your followers on there. We should be marketing.
It's a boutique shop. It's a boutique shop.
We should be marketing those people and posting every single day that promo that we have right now. Which, by the way, for any Burlington locals or GTA locals,
free summer, baby.
Free summer. 2 months of free jiu-jitsu classes over at REVO Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is there's going to be the email campaigns. So we could hit up the lead list that I already have on our CRM for the emails. We'll see if that returns anything. The other one is going to be ads. And then the third one is going to be the physical canvassing. That's what I figure as the first phase. Those are the three. But then for each one, so for example, if we were to take the online ads, for example, I want to test out 3 different variants of an ad, right? That like, you know, maybe differing styles, differing like videos, differing target markets or demos, for example, and then seeing which of those 3 ads within that broader Facebook, Instagram campaign performs the best. Because then the second phase is, okay, of those 3 ads, whichever one works the best, let's double down and put more budget for that, like for that next version or whatever that campaign is, right? Canvassing, I feel like I know it's probably going to be, it's the most time consuming, but I feel like if I get in front of someone like face to face, I'll do a better job of actually marketing than I can like through just a video. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, we have a good start on that already, which is going down the street and just kind of like handing out flyers. But if we could go to like community centers or having a table at like the Rib Fest that's coming up, for example, or even doing the like taking a page out of the P.T. Barnum's, the circus, like the campaigns that they would do, which is, I forget what the term of it is called. It's like kind of like guerrilla marketing, where it's like we talked about, it's like set up some mats by the fucking lakeshore.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? So
that'll be fun.
Right. So I think that physical, like canvas, let's just call it physical canvassing for until we find a better term for it. Is another area that
I like guerrilla marketing.
Guerrilla marketing. Yeah. So I think let's kind of dig into each of those 3. If we think of any more, we could definitely add it, but we should do it in sprints, like you said. We should do it in phases, see what works well, and to the next phase that will educate us into understanding where we're going to then like commit more of our time to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because maybe it turns out email came through with nothing. So why are we going to do email as part of phase 2?
I think we can also run them overlapping each other too.
100%. Yeah, no. So maybe what we could do for the first phase is just like, okay, the first phase is summer. Second phase is going to be fall into winter.
We should really, across all those channels, really make it consistent with the messaging, and the messaging would be the promotion.
Yes, exactly.
So we have an apples to apples comparison.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So what else happened this week?
What the fuck else happened this week? We've spent the most of this pod talking about.
Well, it's a good update because you know what? We haven't really talked about the gym in a while, right?
It's like a
slow motion, folks. But it is what it is. And you know what? This is a challenge. We're gonna try to rise to the occasion. That's what we're gonna do. We're not just gonna give up.
And you get to see it front row and center. How this journey is going to pan out, which is also, I think,
I'm pretty hyped for it because at the end of the day, like. Worst case Ontario, it doesn't work out. We know, like for whatever next venture or even for this venture that we're doing right now, it's gonna educate us into like what works well, what doesn't work well.
Right.
At the very least.
And you get to see that again. The beauty behind doing this real time and sharing this information with you guys is for anyone that might be aspiring to open a gym.
Exactly.
There you go. You have an episode for that.
There you
some
go.
Good stuff, and we'll of course, check in with you when it comes to the status on those sprints to see how those are going, and to share that knowledge with you for free, because at the end of the day, this is the internet, and the internet's the best thing ever. And yeah,
At least we think it could be the downfall of humankind too.
it could also be the downfall of humankind.
So what else we got? Let's rapid fire some of these topics. What we got?
Man. Well, on the topic of just jiu-jitsu gyms and mixed martial arts, we had let's do a recap of 303 UFC.
303, the card that never was really. That was the most
The card that
up
went
card
away
ever.
Yeah.
Like the card that was zombified like 3 times over, bro.
Yeah,
like,
originally it was supposed to be McGregor, and
it was supposed to be a crazy like comeback for McGregor, but apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, but my friend
conspiracies.
My friend was dating one of Conor's training partners, and the story goes that it was his elbow that broke Conor's toe, because Conor apparently was going for a roundhouse kick, and then he hit his elbow, and that's how it broke. So leading up to 303, everybody was kind of like holding their breath, hoping that Conor would actually show up, because Conor has kind of like leading up to now has had a hit, like has a running track record of just not fulfilling his obligations, right? So one thing led to another. Turns out that he got injured, obviously, and wasn't able to make it. So the main event went away. So in comes Alex Pereira and Jiri, saves the card. And that actually was, like, thankfully the best, in my opinion, the most entertaining fight on that card. Aside from Ige and who did Ige fight?
Pull up the card.
Ige, and oh my gosh, fucking Diego. What was his name again? Diego. Yeah, okay. So Pereira with a second round knockout. Ige versus Diego Lopez. And Lopez is a dog for even taking that fight. But he looks so much bigger than fucking Ige. But apparently Ige has been in training camp for the past 3 months. And he took that fight with so it was supposed to be Lopez versus Ortega. Ortega misses weight.
Oh, he did.
And then literally a couple hours before the fight, like before this card starts, turns out that apparently Ortega had major health issues and had to back out last second. So they were scrambling for a replacement, and Ige stepped up, and I don't know if Hunter reached out to him or he reached out to Hunter, but they got that fight made. The other fights, honestly, were not that entertaining. I mean, we were watching it at a friend's place. The Machado Gary versus Michael Page fight was such a letdown. The Jamal Hill Khalil Roundtree got canceled because he was injured, and then obviously Conor McGregor and Chandler, like a bunch of look how many look how many fights got canceled.
Oh, yikes!
There, you know what I mean? Yeah. So,
wow. How did the Machado fight go? What's the TLDR on that?
Oh, trash! Like, it was. Both of them had
They're not really doing a good job for MVP, man.
Both fighters had kind of weird tactics. Like MVP kind of was like a little bit gun shy, I felt.
Yeah.
Machado Gary had a good tactic for trying to take him down, but thing was, like, when he did get him down, like, he had his back for a while. He just like he tried to do like heel hooks and stuff like that. It was an overall weird card. I mean, Gary did have a good game plan in terms of bringing it to the ground. Apparently, he was training with Damian Maia leading up to this. But there were a couple times where it's just like, okay, like, you're not doing anything on his back. Like, let's fucking stand it up, bro. Like, or at least like try to advance your position.
Oh, fuck that, dude. It's so hard to get people's backs in the UFC, man.
I get that, but like, if you watch the fight, there was one moment where, like, literally
nothing. There was just
nothing. Yeah, he wasn't like, he was barely even hitting him. Like, yeah. Like, if you look at their faces after the fight, like, neither of them were really damaged. It's kind of ass, because MVP is also like up there. He's like 37, 38 years old.
That's the thing. I think we got him too late. The UFC got him too late.
Exactly.
So
I think that's part of it. But
that ship has most likely.
Yeah. What else? What else before we wrap it up?
I guess the last thing we could talk about is, bro, our favorite
Mavs, bro.
Yeah. NBA update.
Clay to the Mavs. First
End of
off,
an era.
probably the most uneventful draft aside from LeBron's son being drafted 55th. What was it 55th overall?
Something like that.
Second round.
Just nepotism.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so I saw Jimmy High Roller did a breakdown on it, and actually he's just like, you know, worst case Ontario, he doesn't do well. Nobody was expecting anything from him in the first place.
Yeah,
he just happens to be LeBron's kid.
I wonder how he feels about all this press.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That's weird.
I would
right?
hate to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like you're kind of asking for it.
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, like, your dad's who your dad is, and you chose to play in the fucking league, right?
Yeah.
Like,
could have done anything else. And
yeah,
he's got another one that
it's kind of rare, bro. Like, I think
super rare. No one in the NBA has done it before.
No, I don't think anybody in the NBA. But
Other
the
sports,
one,
yes.
like Ken Griffey and his dad. But Ken Griffey was, arguably probably better than his dad by the end of it. Ken Griffey Jr. He was a baseball player.
Oh,
Beast.
when
Yeah,
they played together.
They played on the Marlins.
Yeah.
Yeah. They played together for a couple. I think maybe 1, maybe 2 years, or I don't remember.
But this is dope because it's like arguably the best player of all time with his son.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I think it's just
like
general
for people to hate on that. It's just like,
Yeah.
yo, there's so much nepotism in the NBA
already.
even before this.
Yeah.
With like how coaches move around and how players get moved around anyway. Like, there's so much like with the way that the front office works. There's so much nepotism. So for us to sit here and just be like, oh, but like LeBron, like dude, if you're a LeBron and you had a chance to play with your son, wouldn't you do anything that you can to get him to play on your team? Fuck, I know I would.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna hate on the guy for that? You know what I mean?
100%. I agree. I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting season to see them. And that first time they hit the court together is gonna be crazy. Like that's something that we're probably never going to see in our lifetime ever again.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of this generation's NBA players, a lot of their sons are playing as well. Like they're getting into the league. So
well, we're not going to see it at the caliber. Of
I see.
level.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Probably.
LeBron's still fucking doing his thing at 41 or some
Crazy.
shit, or what is
Crazy.
it? 55.
There could be a chance. Like, I wonder if he's gonna stick around for Bryce. He would be 42 if Bryce.
God damn,
when Bryce is eligible. So
and he's still doing his thing, man. He's still
bro.
like that train is still going. It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
But yeah, other news when it comes to NBA, Clay to the Mavs. I mean, yeah, end of an era, man.
Crazy.
Dude.
R.I.P.
I think there was like a comparison that like it was all about money for this guy. The Warriors offered him like a 2-year, $48 million contract. He denied that for a 3-year, $50 million.
Yeah.
With the Mavs.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's internal things going on.
No, I thought he
For
he
sure.
felt disrespected or something like that. I don't know.
But that sucks, man. Because man, Clay, that era is Splash Brothers, man.
R.I.P.
Lots of memories with those guys.
PG to 76ers. PG, in my opinion, is probably one of the most overrated. I've always felt this about PG. He's one of the most overrated players. I don't think he's that good.
I saw a funny meme about this trade where it was like, who's gonna stop this trio, Maxey, Embiid, and PG? And then some guy replied on Twitter with just lights.
Yeah.
Over the stadium.
Yeah.
When the lights are too bright, these guys just go away, man.
Shudder away, bro.
Just shudder away. So I definitely think I'm on the same side as you. Although I love PG's game, I'm a fan of his game. As just like a one of the most quote unquote best players of the world.
Yeah.
When
it comes to the big moments, man,
he doesn't
more
come
times
up.
than not. He doesn't
big
show
moments,
up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's not like a first class All NBA in my opinion.
100%. I guess just to wrap up the NBA update. We can talk about a little bit about our moves that we made.
Yeah, so I don't know what the moves are. Like,
one of them
signed.
So the first guy we signed at the 19th pick was this Jacoby Walker guy, and he's I don't know what position he is. Oh, he's a guard. So I don't know. He looks pretty decent from what I saw, which is not that much. But we definitely need, I think, more shooting.
Didn't we pay out Scotty Barnes and that other guy like bare money or some shit?
What do you mean? I don't know.
That we didn't re-sign Scotty Barnes.
I think we
a shitload of money.
I think we might have re-signed him. I'm not
Another
sure.
guy, I don't know. I haven't followed.
But we did draft his friend, Scotty's friend. So the second guy over there, his name. I'm gonna try his first name. Mulgo. That's actually Scotty, one of Scotty's buds.
Speaking of playing with your friends, New York's basically looking like a fucking college team right now.
Villanova right now. Yeah,
Villa, bro.
With the Michaela Bridges trade.
Crazy.
So this season it's like there's
an interesting season.
It's shaping up to be a pretty interesting off season right now with some of these moves, and I'm going to be interested to see and keep up with all the other trades. But I mean, this past playoffs was kind of, I mean, the Celtics pretty much had it from the bag, in my opinion, from the very get-go.
I didn't think so.
I thought just because of the way things panned out with like injuries and that kind of thing.
Right.
So especially like
I really thought that Dallas was going to put up a bigger fight, to be honest with you.
Right.
But it turns out they just didn't have the depth.
They just didn't. Yeah. So you hate to see it, but hopefully this time next year again we'll have a way more competitive playoffs, because competition is always a good thing.
Parity, baby.
Parity, baby. That's the name of the game. Anyway, I think that should be enough.
That's our wrap,
ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for tuning in
to this 25th episode.
It's a little bit of a drier episode. It's a little bit more of a serious one. Not too many laughs, but sometimes life's not always about laughs.
You gotta cry.
You gotta cry a little bit. Fucking wipe your tears
and come back better. But for us, until next time, stay safe out there. And we'll be back to you when we get back to you.
Peace.
See ya.
Appreciate y'all.